guys. So welcome to Suitcase Divas Podcast. My name is Denise Diabaldi with Redbirds Travel.
And I'm Cheryl Garcia with ABCD Adventures.
Yeah, and so this is episode 37, and we have a special guest today, Shelby Starr. This is about traveling abroad. So just to give you a little background information, Shelby is an up-and-coming actress and singer and just graduated from University of Greensboro and a BA in drama, of course. She's currently working in Charlotte, North Carolina, and is hoping to land a professional job in acting. So the cool thing and why we're here today is Shelby spent her junior year spring semester abroad at University of Wales at Trinity St. David. So we're going to talk a little bit about you going to study abroad. So welcome, Shelby.
Hi.
What motivated you to study abroad, and how did you choose to go to Wales?
Yeah, so at my school we have a program called the Lloyd International Honors College, and I was a part of that. And one of the incentives of joining the Honors College is that you would get to study abroad. So you'd be given a stipend, and you would kind of work in tandem with the study abroad department to kind of set everything up. You know, they have sort of like their own communications, like with different host schools essentially. And yeah, so they just kind of take you through the process, and you have to fill out a lot of paperwork, but then you get to go. So yeah, it was pretty cool. Sorry, what was your second part of the question?
So how did you end up in Wales? Did you get to pick different areas that you could study abroad, or did they say, well, listen, this is what we have and where do you want to go? How did that all shake out?
Yes. So we were given essentially, so basically there's like a website, there's like a study abroad website, and for each major, it kind of gives you sort of a detailed list of all the schools that offer classes associated with your major.
Okay.
And basically it just gives you a rundown of, okay, if you're going to go to school and take classes in this subject, these are the schools that are going to be the best fit for you in that regard. And, I looked at all of like different schools and kind of like, compare merits of all of them. And there were like a few countries I'm just like, I mean, that's cool, but I don't know. I think it'd be maybe a bit too much of a culture shock for me, just like where I'm at in life. I would totally love to go in the future. But I think with choosing Wales, I kind of chose it. I mean, one, because they offered classes related to my major, but also because I hadn't really thought about it. I don't know.
Yeah.
Not in a bad way at all, because after having visited Wales and been there for a few months, it's a lovely country. It's really beautiful, very scenic. But, I had never really thought, growing up, yeah, I'm going to go to Wales one day.
And they speak English, so you didn't have to learn a new
language. Exactly. Yeah. So I didn't think there was going to be as much of like, there wouldn't be like really a language barrier or that much of a cultural barrier, really. I just thought, okay, I feel like this is good if I want to get out of the country and visit a new place, but not feel like completely a fish out of water,
Right.
Yeah. And also I thought like, it was almost like a spontaneous choice in a way, because I could have gone to like England, but I thought, I don't know, that just feels too simple, I guess. I don't know.
No,
Because
yeah.
I mean, I think I could have gone to England. I'm sure I would have had a great time there. It's a great country. I just thought I'll like go to like somewhere England adjacent, I guess. Yeah. So that's why I chose Wales.
So when you were getting ready, how did you prepare to go for a study abroad? Because that's got to be a little bit scary, daunting, I would say, to like pack up and be headed. And what duration of time? You said it's a semester, so was that like 3 months, 4 months? How long were you there?
Yeah, I was there from sort of like mid-January to late May.
Okay.
That's what my semester was.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And in preparation for it, I mean, there's a lot that goes into it. Obviously, like the logistical part of it is, you're constantly in communications, like, like writing emails to the study abroad department, asking for things, asking questions. They're sending you things that you have to sign and get in by a certain deadline if you want to, make it work, essentially. So, it was like stressful in the beginning, just making sure I had like all of my stuff turned in and all that. And, just, luckily, one thing I did not have to worry about is a visa. I did not need a visa for this.
Okay.
It would have been a lot more stressful if I did need one. But because I was there for less than 6 months, I was not required to have one, which was good.
That is good. That's good to know.
but then when all the logistical stuff was done in packing, I think I just got a lot of help from my parents really, and I was doing, I was doing research as well, but I think it was a lot of just getting the right luggage, getting the right sort of like items that I could take with me over there. Wales is a very rainy place. It's not sunny there for most of the year. So they made sure I had like a really nice waterproof rain jacket and like some duck boots I could wear, in the rain, and very helpful, very useful. I
Yeah.
definitely needed them. And just like other little things. They gave me like these cute little packing cubes that I can, I could like fit as much stuff as possible in my suitcase. Yeah, and I definitely had to forego some things, because you can't carry a ton of stuff when you're, traveling to a foreign country. Yeah, so it was like that. Oh, one thing they gave me that was incredibly useful that I like basically used every day. They gave me like a thief proof little sort of fanny, like crossbody fanny pack thing,
Mhm.
which was like I used all the time. It was really nice. I had like a little thief proof like, addition to it, just to like make sure that no one could like really grab hold of it and like try to like undo the zipper. And so
Nice.
like yeah,
We'll
that was
put
really helpful.
that
I felt pretty
affiliate
secure with
link
all
in
my
here
stuff.
for that.
Yeah.
We're all about
Yeah.
efficiency.
Yeah, so I use that like every day. I just like put all my like cards and essentials in it, my key for my room.
Yeah.
So I feel like pretty much everything that my parents helped me to like acquire before I went to Wales, it was all pretty much useful. So yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, parents are good to have.
Yeah.
They're
Parents are good to have. Yeah.
for life to help you out.
Yeah.
So when you got there, you had your initial expectations before going. And then
Mhm.
how did that change when you arrived? Was it everything you thought it would be, or what was your initial reaction when you actually were in your room, unpacked, and you're like, well, here I am?
Yeah. I mean, I like looked up photos of like what Wales, looks like ahead of time. And like it is a really beautiful and scenic country. But I mean, I realized that it was like rural, I was going to be
Mhm.
living in
Yeah.
a pretty rural area, but you never really that never fully clicks in for you until you actually get there. And I'm like, okay, this is rural. It's very rural.
You're
Not
not
in
in
a bad way at all, just in a
Coast
different way.
Wales.
Because as someone who like, is used to like growing up in a suburb and all that, living near a city, it's a different vibe. It's a different vibe. Another thing that I really was not fully aware of that is definitely something I kind of had to get used to is that in the winter time there was not a lot of days of like sunlight there.
Oh,
Like
struggling with that.
I assume the sun comes up like kind of early in the morning, but then by like 4:30 in the afternoon it's dark. It's nighttime, which is
Damn.
crazy to me. I'm not used to that at all. I had flatmates, I had friends who I was living with who were used to it just because they were from like Canada, and like Canada is kind of like that as well. But I was like I was not used to that. And so I think that's something I definitely had to get used to. And it definitely made me appreciate sunlight a lot more because like I feel like
Aw.
I'm kind of a creature of the night most of the time. But when I was over there, I'm like, you know what? I want the sun. I think I'd feel a lot happier if the sun was here.
Yeah, so it made
Yeah,
you appreciate
yeah.
your
The
place living.
seasons.
Yes.
It made me appreciate seasons. Yeah, even though the seasons are very wonky here. Yeah, but yeah, that's definitely something I had to
Well,
adjust to.
in North Carolina, yeah, our seasons are a bit wonky, and whether we
Yeah.
get a winter is, it depends on the year. But I think it's been several years here that we haven't even gotten snow. But
So true. Yeah.
yeah, so Cheryl, why don't you go into like maybe ask her a few things about being abroad?
Right. So you had mentioned you didn't see a lot of cultural, like that was one of the things about choosing that area is it's very similar, or your expectations were very similar to what our culture is. Did you come across anything that was like different, or that you just anything that stood out about their culture that was slightly different that you kind of immersed yourself in or was shocked by, or not shocked, that's not the right word, but
Yeah, surprised by. Yeah,
yes,
delighted.
Yes.
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, so I think like the main thing, and I think this is honestly owing to just kind of the area that I was in. It's very rural. Everyone kind of knows everyone. Like
Mhm.
it was obvious that we were foreigners because everyone knows everyone. So they're like, I've never seen you before. You're a foreigner. So
Yeah.
yeah, but I think the main thing is that they are a very polite. They're very polite people. They're
They
very
embrace
kind.
you, right? They They welcomed you?
Oh yeah, they definitely did. But I think one thing definitely is that I mean they kind of keep to themselves. They might like,
Well,
they
that's
might talk
different.
about people behind closed doors. I have no idea. But like in front of you, they just kind of keep to themselves for the most part. I think like the main thing is just that it's kind of funny. Like it wasn't an insult at all, really. It was like very genuine. But whenever like we would meet locals in Wales, whether we were at like a pub or something, or like doing karaoke because they like karaoke over there. They would like say like, "Why are you here?" But like not in a mean way.
Oh, just the way they said
Not in a
it.
mean way. It's
Oh,
because they're not used to foreigners at all. Because it's like a very old town. Like I mean, a lot of Wales is very old, but it's a very old, very small town, and everyone knows everyone. So like when you're there, they're like, I mean, they got to be here for a specific reason. Because like it seemed, I guess to them maybe it seemed like, oh, that's like an interesting place to like visit as a tourist. I feel like there's probably a reason that you are here, and so they would
Right.
always they would say that because they were just genuinely curious, like, oh, are you a student? Are you here to travel? Things like that. Yeah, so yeah, I mean, there was that. People other than that, they pretty much keep to themselves. And I think that's obviously it's very different from the South, from the American South. Here,
Yeah.
everyone wants to know everything about everyone. They're also very polite, but they're very, I think people are a lot more sociable here, a lot more outspoken. They're wanting to have like conversations with you like in line at the grocery store or something. You're ready to check out and people are like curious about you, things like that. So I think that's a little bit different from Wales, but not necessarily a bad thing. I think that's just owing to the area that I was
we could
living in.
use a little more stay in your own lane here. We don't have that at all.
Yeah.
No, yeah, we're very people Southerners are very curious people. Yeah.
Hmm.
So for our listeners that may not know any much about studying abroad, usually the students are sent off by themselves. They're put on a plane, said farewell by their family, and then thankfully we have our cell phones now, so there's that communication, but that adventure to just take that leap into going to a different country kind of on your own, you don't always know someone there. So there's a couple parts to this, but we'll start with that process and jumping into that and studying abroad and just taking that adventure to go across like that. Do you think it's changed or influenced your outlook or your thoughts in life? Did that have any impact on your thinking now?
Absolutely, honestly. I don't think it's like necessarily the country itself,
Mhm.
but definitely just the act of doing it, of just going out and doing stuff, doing a study abroad, doing a semester abroad. I think I think it helped me to feel more grown up, I think. Because,
Yeah.
I had done like some grown up things beforehand, and it wasn't my first time having been away from home for a
Right.
significant period of time, although, definitely the longest I've been away from home, total. But yeah, I think it just because when you were there, you kind of like it really did feel like, yeah, you know I'm living here. I'm independent. I'm doing everything myself. I mean, I cooked all my meals. Because I mean there was like a cafeteria there, but it was mostly
Right.
self service
We
at my
understand
university.
college food. We get it.
Yeah, and honestly, it was cheaper too. It was cheaper to just like go to the grocery stores and just pay for everything. Because I mean, I was lucky to have the financial support of my parents, and that I initially didn't want that, but they're like, no, I mean, we pay for your meal plans when you're at school home, at home. So we'll pay for like for your groceries when you're abroad, and so in keeping that in mind, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna be responsible. I'm gonna make sure that I'm using my money wisely and things like that. So I feel like it really got me into the mindset of like, okay, I'm an adult. I need to do adult things. I need to be responsible and things like
Right.
that.
Yeah.
And, make sure I eat 2 meals a day at least, stuff
Yeah.
like that. Yeah, and I think that definitely has helped me now. I think it's made me a lot less afraid of when I like go off on my own. Like now that I'm
Mhm.
like back in the States, when I go off and like get my own apartment or like move to a new state, I think now I recognize that that's something I'm capable of doing, and that it takes an adjustment period, of course, but I think I'll be fine. So
That's
Absolutely.
yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
So you did mention how you had your flatmates and your roommates. So when you went abroad, did you know anybody as you were going, or did you just have to kind of meet? And did you create some friendships? How did that go, trying to get your social circle in a new country?
Yeah, so there were two other people from my school that were also like going to Wales as well. Well, one went to like a different campus. He went to the one in Lampeter, and another girl from my school, Eleanor, she also came to the same campus as me, and we were flatmates, which is really cool, and we
Nice.
became good friends.
That's
Um,
nice.
yeah, honestly, I would say like the best friendships I made were definitely within my own flat because we all lived in like, kind of a tiny space together, like not much light, everything, but I think I was very fortunate to live in a place like to live in a flat with other people that also wanted to travel. And we also had like some things in common. So I was very lucky to kind of like have that sort of support system and sort of like social circle mostly from the start essentially. We all kind of like moved in at different times, so it was like a week and a half when I was just kind of like, oh, I don't know anyone,
Yeah.
I don't talk to anyone. But then when like most of them moved in, they became like my travel buddies and my friends and like my confidants and everything, so we all became like pretty close during our time there. And I was very friendly with the people I was in classes with, but it's always like kind of hard to like make friends with people that you're only going to be seeing like for a few months. And they were welcoming in the sense like that, they invited me out to do things, they like let me be a part of the group and everything. But I just think I was able to have more of like a personal like connection with my flatmates specifically because we were living in close quarters with each other, we all understood each other, we're like, yeah, we're a bunch of foreigners, in Wales, like trying to do the thing, trying to figure things out. And yeah, I think they just definitely had like we all like were of the same mind in that way, and we all kind of understood what each other was going through, and that was really great. And I had a really amazing time, traveling with them. I did get to travel with them, and yeah, we just had like a lot of fun talks, and we would like go to pubs together and just hang out. Yeah, it's great.
That's awesome. So did you ever experience homesickness? And if you did, how did you navigate that?
I did a little bit. I mean, I feel like for me as a person, I don't get homesick often. And it's not that I don't like miss home. I think I just get like I get wrapped up. I get
Hmm.
wrapped up with whatever I'm doing that I feel
In
like
the
I don't
adventure
have
that you're on.
time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like I don't have time to like really miss my previous surroundings. But I feel like having been away for like 5 months in a place that I mean definitely looked different from my home, in like a country where people have different accents and I don't really know anyone, starting out and all that. And also like with the whole, few hours in like of sunlight, during the day. Like
Right.
it's I think I definitely had to like, get through like an adjustment period. And I mean I think my friends definitely helped with that, just like having people to talk to, having people to like, just be honest with and communicate with and everything, just about what I was feeling. I think that was really helpful for me. And we all like kind of collectively did that in the flat. So yeah, I think that just made me feel better. Yeah, but I mean there definitely were a few times from like, yeah, I kind of miss home at this point. I think it was more so towards like the end of the semester as
Hmm.
well, after I'd like been there for a few months. I'm like, yeah, I settled in here, but also, I kind of miss my parents and everything, and I kind of miss my house and all that, and my dog,
Right.
my dog. um,
I
yeah,
love
but
Loki.
yeah, my little Loki. He just like came in earlier. I don't know where he went, but yeah, but I think I've been able to like deal with it my own way and just taking time for myself just to like do the things that I enjoy when I'm not in class. I think that's like definitely something I'd recommend for anyone who wants to study abroad. Like when you're homesick, do the things you would normally do at home because then it'll make you feel a little less
Grounded.
far away
Makes you
from it
feel
all.
more grounded.
Right. Yeah.
That makes sense. That's smart.
And the fact that you all were kind of going through some of that at one point or another, because everybody was away from home, was a nice little bonding and way to go through that. That's
I do have
awesome.
a question though. Did you encounter anybody that when you said that you were American that kind of like was like, ew, or did anybody that was like, we don't like Americans or we don't like your country, that type of deal? Did you ever encounter anybody that was like PP on?
Yeah, I mean, I get it, but
No, I'm just wondering if you
I
got
did say that I would get it, but I don't think anyone ever really.
They were too polite.
Said that, yeah. I will say though, I think I definitely felt it a little bit at times that America definitely wasn't preferred, which I get it,
I'll get
because
it.
we had a few Canadians with us, I had two of my flatmates were Canadian. The Welsh love Canadians, like they really like Canadians.
Yeah.
So, like we'd be out with like our Canadian friends, and people are like, "Oh yeah, where are you from?" And everything. We'd all like say where we're from, and then the Canadians would be like, "Oh yeah, I'm from Canada. I'm from like Vancouver," and they're like,
We love Canada.
Yeah.
stuff like that. So I think they probably did prefer like Canadians to Americans at times, which
Understandably.
I get it. It's fine.
Like I
Right.
know.
Yeah, I mean, I think like the only time, and I wouldn't say like he was being negative about it. I think it's just because he genuinely hadn't really seen a lot of Americans around, and he just wanted to like mess with me or whatever. One time, I was near. Oh gosh, I never fully know how to pronounce this. It's Brecon Beacon. I think that's how you pronounce it. It's like mountains. And I'd like gone with my friend, and we went like caving there, which was really fun. We got to like see some like old caves there that had been like
Nice.
excavated a long time ago. They were like called like the show caves. And yeah, so like we went to like this little like bed and breakfast place nearby for lunch because it was like the only place nearby. It was like there wasn't much around. It was like road, mountains, and this bed and breakfast. Um, so yeah, we went to this bed and breakfast, and there was like this old Welsh man who was like running the bed and breakfast with his daughter. I think it was like a pop and daughter thing. Yeah, and it's like it was like me, and I was with my Canadian friend, and so he was happy to see her. But, he called me a Yankee Doodle.
Oh.
He was like, "Look at this Yankee Doodle over here." Like, dandy.
Good comeback though.
It's
Yeah.
honestly really funny. I don't think he meant it at all in an insulting way. I just never been called a Yankee Doodle before, so it's really funny.
That is
Aw.
funny. And technically you're not a Yankee because you were born and raised in North Carolina, but they don't get it.
Yeah.
That's a
Well, I
whole
was born in Oregon, but I've lived most of my life in North
you were
Carolina,
born in
so I
Oregon.
basically consider myself a Southerner. Yeah, so I guess technically not a Yank, but
Still not a Yankee, but and definitely not a Yankee Doodle.
Yeah. So
That
you
is what-
mentioned
It was
that
funny, though.
you mentioned you've traveled outside, you guys did some traveling. Did you get outside of Wales and get to explore some of the local or the other areas around?
Oh no, definitely. We definitely also traveled like within the country as well, which is also so much easier than traveling in the States, because when you're out of the country, you find that like in Europe and in the UK, like public transportation is a huge thing, which was great for us, and also like not too expensive either. Like we had a train station that was like a 25-minute walk. Like it was downhill, it was fine. You get used to it after a while, but also like public buses as well. You could like go to other parts of the country within a few hours, and I think like getting from one side of the country to the other would only really take a few hours as well. It's a tiny country, so yeah, I found that pretty easy. But then also traveling out of the country, I got to go to a few places. I went to Amsterdam, I went to Brussels, Belgium, I went to Paris, and I went to Dublin. And those were really great experiences. I love those.
That's
Yeah, and I also
awesome.
like got to go with
Like,
friends as well.
places.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also like when you're out of the country, flying is a lot less expensive. Like it's a couple $100 compared to like thousands you'd be paying, to like just get out of the United States. Once you cross the pond, it's just a lot easier. It's a lot easier just traveling from place to place. Because also like in Europe, a lot of the countries are like smaller, and they're like kind of on top of each other. So you can like get from one country to another by driving in a matter of a few hours, which is crazy.
Right.
Yeah, like we took the bus from Amsterdam to Belgium, because they're very close to each other, but like two whole countries just by bus.
So it sounds like you got to travel to a lot of interesting places. Is there one area or place that stood out to be like, this was absolutely amazing, it was not what I expected, or was more than I expected? Was there one place that you got to visit that stood out?
Yeah, oh my gosh, that's hard to say. I mean, I definitely spent more time in some of the places than others. Like in Dublin, I spent a very little amount of time because I was kind of just tagging along with my friend. She was there for an event like that was just happening in Dublin. I'm like, well, I don't think I'll be able to go to Ireland otherwise, so I'll just tag along with her, and we'll like book an Airbnb together. Really beautiful place. But I'll say, Probably Amsterdam. Yeah.
Say
I
that.
mean, it was a bit of a unique situation because we were staying in a hostel, and I never stayed in a hostel before, and I don't know if it was worth the money.
It
Well,
was
it was
basic.
just it was very loud there most hours of the day. Like people were like partying in like the main lobby, like like late into the night, and we were like pretty close to that lobby area, so it was kind of hard to fall asleep. And also we were like rooming with guys. It wasn't like an all girls hostel. So
Right.
it was an interesting experience. Like I think I was a bit sleep deprived during that section, like of our trip, of our travels. But Amsterdam itself is a really beautiful place. I got to visit the Van Gogh Museum there, which was honestly like I don't know. I love Van Gogh's art, and like I think his story. I don't know. It made me a bit emotional. I love his art,
Aw.
and I loved getting to go there. That was a really special experience. We got to go to these tulip gardens, which were like gorgeous. It was like great photo opportunity, and the weather wasn't that bad either. I mean, I think we needed like jackets. It was a bit cold, but not too bad. And we all like wore cute little outfits and things, and that was really cool. And it's a very lovely city. It's very clean. It's very clean. Like in the city center, you don't really see trash anywhere. It's just like lovely like cobblestone streets, and you have like the river, like the river
Mhm.
running through it and everything. Yeah, and just like really like cute shops and restaurants and things like that. I mean, I'd love to go back and like spend more time there because we were only there for a few days, and each day I feel like it was a very planned trip. It was one of the most like planned trips that we had done because we're like, okay, we're gonna book all these things in advance and we're gonna all do these things in succession. And I think from that experience, I realized I kind of like a bit more spontaneity in my trips, maybe, because it was a really lovely time. But I think I realized, yeah, we're just like kind of going from one place to another. I think I would have loved to have a bit more time, just kind of like exploring, and just
Mhm.
getting to know the city more. But from what I saw, it's a really lovely country, really lovely city. And I'd love to see it again. So yeah.
That's
Yeah, just
awesome.
to the red light district.
I actually did I did walk through it. I just walked through it. I walked through it with one of my friends just to like see what it was about. I'm like, oh, okay.
That's awesome. That's so exciting that you got to do all of that. So I'm sure after all your travels, you've got some good advice. So I'm going to throw it over to Denise to kind of get some input on that.
Yeah, so what advice would you give to students that are considering traveling abroad?
Yeah. I would say, just I think first of all, I would say just do it, because I understand traveling, it's not like the easiest thing for everyone. Some people get homesick, they're kind of homebodies, they're afraid of like venturing out. I would say, you know, if you can, that part of your brain is like screaming at you, like, oh, I'm scared, turn it off.
Oh,
Because I think there's a lot more merit to like going outside of the country and like experiencing different cultures and just everything that other countries have to offer. I think that there's more merit to that than cons, I'd say. Because I think I just learned a lot about myself through that experience, and I think anyone can like get out and really like learn about themselves or like how like just they're traveling and like living by themselves in a different country and having to navigate that. I just think there's a lot of personal growth that can come about because of like going to another country. So definitely say yeah, just do it. And also, obviously prepare as best you can. And of course, I would say you're not going to be able to like get everything right. Like I would say prepare as much as possible, but there's always going to be like a few curveballs that are going to be thrown at you when you go to a foreign country. I would say prepare as much as you can, but also if things like go a little bit wrong, that's life. And as long as you have like certain like, what's the word I'm looking for? Just certain like procedures, things in place that you're aware of ahead of time. They can help you get through a bad situation. You'll be fine.
yeah.
I think,
That's
and
awesome.
especially if you're in the UK, well, I'd say Wales specifically. It's a very safe place. I've never felt unsafe while being in Wales. So, um, yeah, I would say like prepare, but like just don't freak out. It's okay.
But do
Yeah.
it. Yeah, for sure. Thank you.
Yes. You are there any specific resources or programs? You mentioned this one program, and you actually said it was a requirement to travel abroad.
Yeah.
So that you would recommend for other prospective study abroad students. But you
Yeah.
said there's one program that you're in, and that helped you find your way.
No, definitely. Like, so I talked about with the Lloyd International Honors College, it was a requirement actually as a part of the program to like graduate with honors to study abroad to have that experience. And I would say for all of like the other students out there, if you're in college and your school offers something like that, I'd recommend it, honestly. Like
Yeah.
if you're able to get into that kind of program that like kind of pushes you towards study abroad, do it. And even if it doesn't, and there is like a study abroad program, like get in touch with them, see like what, and especially like with finances as well, like what scholarship opportunities are there, for me to like apply for. And, just I would say plan out well in advance, because I had already kind of realized that I wanted to do study abroad junior year, like when I was a freshman, just because like I came into that program with a mindset of like, oh yeah, I'm going to be studying abroad sometime while I'm, in college. Um, so I would say just seek out those programs that offer it and just, build up a rapport, contact them, say like, hey, is this something that is possible for me? How can we make this work? What scholarship opportunities are there out there, for me? So I would say just, yeah, just do your due diligence, do it ahead of time if you can. Um, yeah, and I think there's like a wealth of opportunity out there for people who want to study abroad.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So how has studying abroad experience influenced your future goals or career plans? Like, would you consider living or working abroad again in the future?
Yeah, I would say if it's something I could afford, definitely, and obviously there's a lot that goes into. I mean, I think because I had so much help, like there were all
Yeah.
these like processes in place to help me get to where I needed to be. And whenever you're moving to a country like by yourself, you don't really have any of that. Like you're doing it all by your lonesome.
Right.
And so I think if I were to do that, I would need to be in a place where I'm like, yeah, I need to change. This is something I really want. And I think that could potentially happen in the future. But it takes a lot of work. I'd have to, apply for a visa and everything, get housing, get a job. It's a lot. I think it's definitely a lot easier to travel when you're young and when you're being supported by like other people and other like programs and like when you're by yourself choosing to do it. I think that takes like a lot of bravery to just like up and move to a foreign country indefinitely. So yeah, I definitely consider it because I do love to travel and I think I could definitely build a life in another country. But, like as of now, I'm just, taking my time here in the States and just trying to, be an adult and, do adult things. So yeah.
Well, so yeah, in a final wrap up, like what's next for Shelby? Where can our listeners follow you on your journey? And what's going on? What's happening with you, babe? What's next? You just
Yeah.
graduated. The world is your oyster.
The world is my oyster. Um, yeah, I mean, not quite that glamorous, but I'm trying to find a full-time job right now. I'm working on it, hoping any day I'll be able to, get a full-time job and just like save up money, maybe eventually like get me an apartment. And I think eventually I would like to move away to another state where I can get my career started. Yeah, and I have like 2 auditions coming up, so that's pretty cool.
That's amazing. That's awesome.
All of
Yeah,
we're gonna put all of your Instagram, your website. Your website is theshelbystar.com. And we'll give everybody that, and maybe we can help you. If there's anybody looking for an amazing singer, actress, Shelby Starr is your girl. So if you are a listener and you're in a position to give Shelby an opportunity, we would love to hear from you guys.
thank you.
So yeah, Shelby, it's been really amazing talking to you. Do you have any final comments or thoughts or what do you think?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, yeah, thanks for having me. This was really a lot of fun. It's always like really fun to talk about my experience with studying abroad because I think especially like with people that like are close in your circle, like you don't want to be annoying, you don't want to just go like on and on, like, oh yeah, I did this and this, and I think it's cool to like, talk about my experiences with people who either would understand or I feel like I can really kind of help them get the most value out of a study abroad experience. And yeah, it was just really special to get to share my time with you guys. A lot of fun.
Well, thank you so much. We are so excited about what you have coming up. Good luck on your auditions. And we will be dropping Shelby's information where you can find her and check out what she's up to. We'll be dropping that with the show notes and on our socials. So again, thank you, Shelby, and good luck at your auditions.
Yeah, I just know you're gonna be a star.
Well, I appreciate it. Thank you. All right.
Bye, guys.
Bye.